Action Heroes LA. You think that's synced up? I think it's synced up. Okay, we're with Action Heroes LA with a new review, this time of a documentary of
Little Richard.
Little Richard, I Am Everything. I saw this trailer a few months ago and I was so excited that a documentary about Little Richard was made, and I couldn't wait to see it. And here we are.
Yes.
We have seen it. I have seen it a few times.
And I am thankful to have seen it.
You know what, Peter? Why don't you go back to the hotel?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back.
I'm so excited. I don't know. We might have to stop this review and, you're going to have to...
Yeah, I got to change it to my mirror suit.
You got to go back to the hotel and get your mirror suit in honor of this documentary.
Yes.
Yes.
And my lace chaps.
And your lace chaps to go with it. Your lace booty out chaps.
Yes.
Anyway, so I was excited of this. We've been fans of Little Richard. I mean, we've known about Little Richard all our lives from our dads playing his music.
Yes.
And growing up with it and understanding him being the architect of rock and roll, the true king of rock and roll, which I believe he is. But even as much as I appreciated Little Richard, this film made me appreciate him even more.
I went from appreciating him like 10 to appreciating him 100.
Yeah.
Yes. I've seen him on different talk shows and stuff like this, talking, being interviewed, and just being everything from a goofball to funny to serious, but not really taking him that serious.
Right.
To now, I just say, wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
It's like I understood his contributions, but I don't think I understood his contribution. I don't think I really gave it the respect. I thought I gave it the respect he deserved, but could be. I mean, we'll discuss that. I mean, one of the things why we love Little Richard is because of the 1973 documentary about Jimi Hendrix, in which they interviewed Little Richard.
Right.
And Jimi Hendrix was one of his guitar player at one time.
Yeah, made his big toe shoot up in his boot.
Exactly. We quote his interview all the time because he was a star. He was a star. Sly told you he was a star.
But
he hadn't been scooped up and put back into the dipper and pulled back on the world. So God, I mean, we love this. It is hilarious. I have a clip of it on my YouTube channel. It has well over 1 million views, and people discover it, and it's hilarious. Sadly, it was at the height of his drug addiction phase in the early 70s. But this documentary, just beyond that, this kind of like Little Richard as a joke, it made me take him so much more seriously and so much more respectful that I thought, wow, this is one of the best music documentaries I've seen.
Yes. I had always thought he had influences here and there. He had influences.
He influenced
everywhere.
Everything about rock and roll that we know about rock and roll to this day.
Yes.
He was the architect. Plain and simple.
Yes, and the thing is, he would say he was the architect of rock and roll.
Yeah. Shut up.
Well, I thought he had an influence here and there.
Well,
he had influences on other artists, but when you see this documentary, you see where he had influences on rock and roll, on blues, on R&B, on everything. He touched every single piece of music.
I think the title of this documentary, Little Richard, I Am Everything, is so appropriate.
Yes.
Because he was...
Shut up.
He because, you know, it just really does encapsulate how much of an influence he was on not just, you think of influence, you just think of the music. Right. You don't think of the fashion so much. You don't think of tying in the fashion, the flamboyance, the bigness, the overtopness, the flamboyance, the big showmanship, the mirror suit, the just being a dynamic performer, just putting it all out on the stage. So your big toe shoot up in your boot when you watch them, and
where Janis Joplin just tore the place down and said, "Here you go," and Little Richard said, "Go get my mirror suit.
Go back to the hotel and get my mirror suit," and then ended up making her faint.
Making her go.
Oh man, I still got some things to learn. Yeah. So this movie was directed by Lisa Cortes. I don't think this film could have been made prior to this time, because it goes a lot into his being a gay and queer man, and him struggling with, you know, his faith in God and just who he was as a queer person and this larger than life personality. And
I think you kind of realize, and you even say, I know I did, feel to yourself, why did he have to choose?
Yeah. I feel bad that he struggled with that till the end of his life, of having to choose between his faith in God and who he was, this person that, you know, just...
Yeah, because let's just say he was good.
He was good.
He was good.
He was a good person, too. He was very generous and giving and loving, but I don't think, it sounds like he never got really that love he probably wanted and deserved in life. It's just, it really does an excellent job of painting a portrait of his life that you didn't think about, and kind of taking him seriously, because, we just discussed this when we just finished watching the film for you, is that he would disarm people with his humor. So while he's stating that I didn't get the credit I deserve, shut up, and you're like, oh, you're laughing at him, you're not. He takes it away from you from like seriously thinking about, he didn't get the credit he deserved, you know, and so
he made it so that you weren't hurt,
right? Yes,
by not giving him his credit, that he thoroughly deserved. He disarmed you to whereas you didn't call him queer or other things in a very mean fashion.
Right.
He put you at ease, but he also said, "This is what it is."
Yeah. This is who I am. He was who he let it all hang out.
Yeah, I want a mirror suit.
I want a mirror suit too. I gotta. That line is like gonna be part of my. I wish I had a mirror suit, and if there was a moment that came up where I could drop that line.
Yes.
Like, I need to show up and show out and show these people what it's about.
Yes, because there was another gentleman, an older gentleman that sat back. I'm sorry, I don't have your name, but was talking about Little Richard's influence on other people, so far as what they said when they were right there. You know, with Janis Joplin and other people,
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, just what they said.
Mick Jagger, the Beatles.
Yes. And
everybody looked up to this guy and copied him, and they were trying to emulate everything about him.
Yes. And that's the thing. When you say that imitation is the
greatest form of flattery.
Yes, they didn't just want
David Bowie.
imitate him. They wanted to be him. No, we're going to play it like this.
Yes.
We're going to do it like this.
Oh, that was Niles Rodgers. You know what band he was in? Do you know who?
No, what band was
Chic.
Chic?
Chic. He was, his start was the band, the guitar, that guitar riff and Freak Out. That's Niles Rodgers. But he went on to many other, become a producer and very well respected in that terms. But even he says, it's like, as a black man, there's only so much he could do. Mick Jagger can do whatever he wants. David Bowie can do whatever he wants. But like a Little Richard or Niles Rodgers, you kind of got put into this box.
Right.
To do that, even though, like for Little Richard's sake, you're influencing all of these guys.
Yes.
And so it was,
but to be able to influence rock and roll, the blues, R&B, just everything.
Everybody.
Punk funk.
Yeah.
It was.
This movie ends. There's a montage of artists from his era to present day, and you have Billy Porter who's being interviewed for it's like, I wouldn't exist without a Little Richard, and you can see everybody's like, this is all of you guys.
Yes.
You would not be doing what you do without Little Richard, whether you knew it or not.
Yes.
It would not be. You would not be doing this. You would not be able to free. I think one guy said it's like he was able to liberate so many people and influence them to be free in themselves, but he couldn't find that within his own life. He couldn't liberate himself because
that is a very important part of this. Is that he allowed everybody to be free, not just in their sexuality, but within their music,
right?
The
to
way they
themselves,
presented their music, everything from their dress to their sound, everything.
It's like be who you are.
Their performances,
God loves
everything. And because one of my favorite, Prince.
Yeah.
I mean,
perfect shirt for the night.
It was.
Oh yeah, when they show clips of Prince at the end of this, it's like, Little Richard is,
Yeah. But at the time, I never thought it was,
Prince is so unique in his,
he
what
was
he's
just
doing.
Unique.
And
it's
just,
like,
and it's just getting in people's faces with who he is and like just doing a style and things that nobody would dare to do. And it's like, Little Richard's like, I was doing that like 20, 30 years ago.
Yes. Because as much as I knew the puffy shirt was, that was Prince. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, actually, that was Rick James first came out with that. And Prince said, I like that.
I'm going to do it. But, I mean, the best artists, including Little Richard, and one of the things I really enjoyed about this, they went on the people who were his early influences. Some of the people I've never heard of, and I was like, wow. Escarina was the one guy that, who was kind of effeminate and did the pompadour, and there was a couple other ones that I love how the lady said it wasn't that he copied off of them, it's just like he found the people that gave him license to be who he was. It's like, I can be, I can be free and do this a lot. We have to bring up, since this documentary and bringing up queerness and everything, we have to bring up one person I was absolutely shocked to see, because this is a drag queen that our parents are familiar. They knew this person.
Yes.
And I've heard about her in the last few years, and spending a lot more time with my parents, I'm hearing more and more about them. They would go see her perform on Central Avenue here in Los Angeles in the late 50s, early 60s. What? I said her.
Would it be her?
I consider her her.
I consider her her too.
Yeah. because she don't look like a him. But I was so glad, and it was surprising when I watched this, and I had to show it to my mom and dad. It's like, Sir Lady Java.
Sir Lady Java.
What old school drag queen from back in the day is interviewed on this. And she was a friend of Little Richard. Mm-hmm. And she was a friend, our family used to be friends with her. And so we're like 1 degree of separation from Little Richard. That's pretty awesome. But,
as much as my father was,
Yeah, your dad was like, man's man, got him and Uncle Stanley.
Yeah, you got to be straight and this and that. Yeah. But I would hear about Sir Lady Java. Oh yeah, that must be a guy. He must be in armor or something.
Oh,
but I keep hearing, but he's a girl. I know. I must be missing this because.
So Sir Lady Java was gorgeous and looks totally like a woman. Yes. I mean, that's even now as older. That's why I definitely say her. But it was so cool. Mm-hmm. This person I'd heard about so much about.
Right.
To see, because I've been curious, I was like, who is this? And to see her actually interviewed
and to actually see
actual old photos of her. And
I knew of her when I was a kid. How did I know about it? My uncles, my father.
Yeah. So she's in this, as well as several other people are interviewed to talk about Little Richard, how difficult his life, his father was, I believe his father was in a Baptist church, ran a church and was very, of course, as you can imagine, what do you say? I had 7 boys. You don't mess it up. You messed it up or something. It's crazy and horrible to think of that he had to, just not having that acceptance and But I'm just saying this is, like I said, one of the best rock documentaries in particular because yes, he had the drug problems. He had the struggles with his father. I think focusing on his difficulty, struggle to deal with his queerness and going back and forth between his queerness and his religious faith, and that struggle was such an excellent choice.
Yeah,
and a new angle that you haven't seen.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I didn't know that I was brought to know, and I was just like, oh, I want to hear that one too. Tutti Frutti.
The real lyrics of Tutti Frutti. And here's another pioneering thing about Little Richard. There was some dirty lyrics. Although there were blues singers back in the day too. Yeah. They played a couple here that were dirty. But he was singing about Tutti Frutti, Good Booty was the original lyric of that song. And he was not afraid to sing about that.
Yeah.
And yes, it is exactly about what you might think it is about. So back in the day, we thought Prince was revolutionary singing about sex, but
no.
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 They made Richard change it, so it's like, but let's see Pat Boone sing that song.
Yeah.
So I want 2, 3.
Loose booty.
Oh, Tutti Frutti. Good booty. But so I do want to bring up, we're talking about, it's because Little Richard is such a dynamic person, such an important person to modern music history. We talking about the filmmaking aspects of this movie is kind of hard because it's just like out of the water. You don't really care. When I first watched it, there are some things that they do, like there are certain inserted B-roll and quick cuts that this movie does, and they put sparkles on the screen at certain times and have it's almost kind of this comical thing. I've seen movies do it in a comical way that I'm like, what are you doing? Like, movies make fun of this style of inserting these type of clips into your film, but at the same time, because it's Little Richard and it's about being over the top and big and being everything, I was like, you know what, this kind of works.
But you know what I really appreciate? And it's about the mirror suit.
Oh, the mirror suit.
The mirror that suit. This director took the time to put together the people who talked, who was there, and who talked about things that was happening.
Yeah.
I love the
behind the scenes of it all. Yeah.
Yes. And I love the way that our people talked about and what artists said about that mirror suit was like the mirrored ball.
Oh, and the disco ball. It's like as soon as the light hit it, just everything just reflected off, all this light reflected off of it.
Yes.
And I mean, what a great metaphor for Little Richard just as a person. You know, just like the spotlight hit him and just joy and light and just everything kind of reflected off of him to all of us.
Everything went out there.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He was
everybody
just a
talks
great
about him
artist.
in loving terms. And, you know, maybe they didn't get the, you know, I just think he didn't. He just sounded like he was just a good person, a good-hearted person to boot. Because even though he definitely had his wild, crazy times. You know, orgies in the room while he's reading Bible quotes, and you know they said a prayer every night. But you know, there was a party going on too.
Yes.
It's just how much his bandmates and all that so much cared about him and how much he cared about them. On a genuine level, and I'm talking sexual or anything like that, because you know they know who he was and they knew who they weren't.
Yeah, and they just.
But they're like, we wore makeup too because you know that was the thing to do. And this is just a really, really just a well done documentary about somebody, and it finally gives you the perspective to have the respect that he deserves.
The best I've ever seen.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
It's one of the best ones. I put it up there. One of my favorites was the Nina Simone documentary from a few years ago too. It was really excellent. Being music documentaries, like music biopics, they always tend to hit the same points. This one does take a new angle, and like I said, I don't think he could have talked about queerness and being gay in such open and respectful terms as we can today, without the people snickering or joking or sneering, and some people will, but you know, I think there are a lot more people open, and you should be more open, because this is you should see this. Whether you're a fan, you're a fan of rock and roll, period, you should see this documentary.
Yes. I think if you're a fan of any type of music, you should
any
see
type
this.
Of modern music, or just
yes, because
rock and roll is kind of like it's kind of died out.
It started to die out. Yeah, the only rock and roll bands that are actually out there now are the old ones.
Yeah. You're not getting rock music. Is not in the traditional sense, the guitar, bass, drums type of thing. It's not what's the prime music today. It's more rap. It's more what they call pop, which pop is more. That's been more influenced by rap and R&B. Well, even like country music, more influenced by rap.
One of the things that I really love is that Elvis Presley went to him and said, no matter what, you are the king of rock and roll.
You are the true king of rock and roll.
Yes.
And he wasn't wrong. When Little Richard died in 2020, I went to Twitter. It's like, he was the true king. I don't care what anybody else says. He was.
Wait a minute. Did you say he was the true queen or the true king?
He was both, damn it.
Yes.
Oh, you know, we just lost Tina Turner, who was definitely the queen of rock and roll.
Yes, she was.
You know, but if you can be both king and queen at the same time, Little Richard was it, damn it.
Little Richard was it.
You know, so you can have Elvis the king, Tina Turner the queen, Little Richard king, queen. I am everything, baby.
Yeah,
shut
everything. Shut up.
So this documentary, it was just released I bought it through Amazon Prime. It looks like it's going to be on PBS this month, so it's your chance to catch it for free probably on your local public broadcasting station, or if you subscribe to their app, you can get it. I pay like $5 a month and get that. There's some great stuff on there. So check it out. Little Richard, I Am Everything. And we are out like, woo! Woo!
He screamed too. Yes.
We are.
But Little Richard.
We love you, Little Richard.
Yes.
Rest in peace.
And both my big toes are in my shoes.
Are shooting up in the boots. and we glorify you in the name of the great God Jehovah.
Yes, and we pour you back onto the world.
You are in the Big Dipper now. I can't wait till you're pulled back down upon the world.
Yes.
We out.
We out.